the tone you use to practice slide guitar can change your experience a lot, actually, because if we think of playing slide on a clean guitar, whether it's acoustic or electric, and especially acoustic, has very little sustain. It's very much a percussive instrument. As soon as you hit the string, there's an immediate decay, and there's a pretty steep decay on the acoustic guitar, especially on the unwound strings. So there's not a lot of sustain there to help you with I don't know, vibrato or keeping your intonation tight. A lot of times what you'll hear is you just hear like the initial snap of the string, and there's no like length to the note, which can make it difficult to practice and to make the instrument sound good when you play with slides. So if you're playing into a clean like Fender Twin, say, and you're trying to play slide guitar, it's going to feel a lot harder than it is because the amp being so clean, being mid-range scooped, is going to not bring out the most important qualities of the slide. And the slide does really well with mid-range, right? It just really helps it sound vocal, cut through, and that's really your friend. So mid-scooping sounds with a slide are not ideal. So this goes for like dreadnought acoustic guitars. Dreadnought acoustic guitars have a very scooped sound, right? Enhanced low end, enhanced high end, the mids are kind of scooped. It sounds kind of plinky when you play it, and it's like the notes just kind of disappear when you hit them. And it could be a little discouraging and sometimes make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing when you're doing the right thing, just not with the right sound. So the same thing with electric guitars, as I mentioned, with amps like twin reverbs. I like to use more mid-range, rich amps when I play slide guitar. I really like tweed amps a lot, like the old tweed circuits, the Fender circuits. Like Victoria makes them, and Fender actually makes some reissues of their early tweeds, like their early tweed deluxe. Not the Blues DeVille or Blues anything like that. I'm talking about the original like tweeds, tweed champs. You can crank them up. They have mid-range. You can get some sustain out of them, right? Marshalls, Vox, those amps have some nice mid-range honk to them, which really helps the slide. And compression helps too. So that's the other problem with a really clean, or what they call like American amps, which is like Mezza Boogie and modern line of the Fender Blues DeVilles and the black panel twin reverbs. They aren't very compressed sounding amps. They have a large transient range, right? And that transient range basically means like you plunk the note, it comes out really sharp transient, and just the dynamic range is all over the place. So we like compression with slide because it gives us more sustain, right? And it can kind of tame the transient and equal the transient to the sustain and the resonance of the instrument. So there's not such a big difference between the two of them. And that's really important with slide. We want a little dynamics, but we really want to bring up the resonance and the sustain. So a compressor is really important for that, whether you're using the slide rig from Origin Effects, or I use the, there's a Keeley, not Keeley, well, the Keeley compressors are great, but I also use the Analog Man compressors. I use the Effectrode compressors. Those are all my favorite compressors for slide guitar. But I also use like Overdrive, or like I was saying, amps that are rich in mid-range, and as I push them up, they'll start to kind of compress in a nice way. So one of the things about, I guess, the terminology of the American style amps is that they're high headroom, mid cut, and with a large dynamic range, and that's not our friend. So right now I am actually running into a black panel Princeton, which are a little easier to control, but still have some of those characteristics. So what I've done, I'm going to show a picture of what I have on here, is I have this new pedal from Hagerman Electronics, right? It's called the Overdrive Clipper, which is basically a take on a Dumble in a pedal. And it has two 12AX7 tubes in it. It sounds really wonderful, and the EQ is voiced really nicely on it, and I can get some of these rich mids back into the signal chain, and I have some sustain on it. So I'm playing it, even if I just play like a few single notes here, right? Right? I'm getting some very nice, like, sustain. I could just play a note. Right now, if I play an electric guitar, it'd just be like, even though I was letting the string ring, it would be so transient. And that's what we want to avoid with playing slide with electric or acoustic guitar, just to get a little more sustain out of it. Now, the resonator guitars are great because they have the resonator cone, and they actually generate a lot more mid-range, as well as smaller body acoustic guitars. They tend to have more mid-range and a balance. They're not as mid-scoops, so they're a little bit better if you want to play slide on acoustic guitar, like the Robert Johnson model of the Gibson, or you'll see like the Parlor guitars, or double O's, things like that might be a little more flattering with a slide. So that's just something to think about, because having a good tone or a sound that's complementary to playing slide guitar is going to make it easier, because you could hear your intonation better. So if I'm playing like an E chord, right, an E note, gives me a lot more to work with. A lot of overdrive pedals can work for this. The Tube Screamer is a great one because it does have a little bit of a low end cut. It's got some rich low mids in it, and it has a gentle compression to it, so that can give you more sustain. So I would say soft clipping overdrives are particularly great too. The Tube Drive from Effectro, the Earth Drive, overdrives like that are going to be great. Fuzzes can work cool, but they could be a little finicky. I don't know that I would start out using fuzz to practice slide. It's something that maybe you can get into later down the line, but I would start with a compressor, an overdrive, and some amps and some guitars that have some mid-range. If you're digging this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave some comments. I'd love to talk about music.